Okay, what's up YouTube? Pacey Crypto again, and have a very exciting video for you guys. Now I'm going to be comparing the AYANEO KUN versus the Asus ROG Ally. Obviously these are two great handhelds from last year, dominated last year. Obviously AYANEO KUN got released later on. Asus ROG Ally dominated most of last year. It was very highly anticipated. A lot of hype around this one. Got released at Best Buy. You could get these at Best Buy right now. This one in particular is the Z1 Extreme version that was $700 at retail at the time that I purchased it. I'm not sure if the price changed, but it was $700 when it at launch, right? AYANEO KUN is a whopping, and for this one, because I have the 32 gig 1 terabyte, this is about $1,200 at launch. So obviously, obviously this is more expensive, but this is definitely packing more, in terms of, there's more going on with AYANEO KUN than this, but let's compare them and see how it stacks up. Is the AYANEO KUN worth the $500 more, for that 1 terabyte, 32 gigs, right? Compared to this, you get the most expensive model for this, which is a 512 GB. You could obviously upgrade it to a 2 terabyte, which I have right now, 2 terabyte. But the 512 GB, with the 16 gigs, that's coming around $700. So, which one is better? So we want to kind of compare this. So obviously, let's kind of go over it. Now they're both running Windows 11, right? And the difference with these two is that AYANEO is running something called ISpace. So if you hold down the button on the right, on the bottom right, then you get this UI, right? It's called ISpace, and this is essentially their overlay for games, right, where all your games are. You can at a one-stop shop for all your games, to locate all your games. It picks up all your games from all over. Now ROG, they have something called Armory Crate. So essentially it's the same thing, picks up all your games, right, has them in one place, and it also manages your updating of your apps and stuff like that. If your apps actually need an update right now, so I need to update the Armory Crate. So if your apps need updating, or your firmware, or anything, devices, components within the system, drivers, things of that nature, this does handle that. Seems like I'm freezing a little bit here. Okay, I think I'm freezing just a little bit. Let me end the task right there. Okay, freezing just a little bit, but while that sorts itself out, it's pretty much the same thing you could do over here with the AYANEO KUN. So essentially, you can also perform updates as well. You update the system, firmware, things like that. You can check for new updates, stuff like that. Had to restart my ROG Ally. Seems like the Armory Crate needed updating, as y'all can see. So it was freezing up and everything. Everything's good now. But essentially, yeah, this, as you can see, you have different options here. System settings. You can change the system setting, the name. It gives you device info, things like that, storage info, stuff like that. You can change the game save locations. You can add different platforms, or sync different platforms there. Obviously, you have your settings. Now these settings, this is your command center, right? And the command center is accessed by going here, and this is essentially what allows you to perform basic tasks on the fly, like pull up your keyboard, your on-screen keyboard. Obviously you're gonna need that a lot. Take a screenshot, end the task, or you end the game right there. You can show the desktop if you just want to go back to window mode. Or you can record your screen. turbo. You can change the turbo, silent, performance mode, you know, whatever you want to do. Real-time monitoring. You can have your real-time. You can see the frame rate, stuff like that. So pretty much, yeah. I mean, you know, all the features that you need are here. Yeah, and the AYANEO KUN, similar stuff is going on. So if you just tap your, and this is called the iSpace button right here. So you tap this iSpace button, right? Similar, you know, similar functionality. Obviously, you go here, you got your quick assistant, which has all your different functions. You could close the game if you want to, go to Windows, mute, hibernate, stuff like that. So similar things going on here. Obviously, you got some more stuff over here, which you can do. You can do these things here as well. But I do like the fact that AYANEO has this this quick setup bar right here that just allows you to do so much, right? You can set the TDP, you know, which you can do here too. You know, you can set the TDP as well, but there's just more functionality here. As you can see, it's more detailed. You got smart TDP, performance overlay, fan configuration. Then you got handheld options. You can change the brightness here, which you can do here. You can change the brightness here as well. You can change the volume, airplane mode, stuff like that. Which you can do all of that here. You can set that up here as well. You can add, you know, functions like airplane mode and stuff like that here. So, but it's just more things to do. You know, obviously you can right away, like, you know, assign, you know, assign mappings to different keys, stuff like that. Right touchpad, you can actually assign mappings to that, things of that nature. You go to the controller, right? You can assign mappings to your back buttons right away, and you can just pull this up even in game, right? And you can change these on the fly. So I do like that customization ability, just the ability to really just really set this however you want, right? That's really cool. So pretty much that's that for the UI stuff. I want to kind of touch on just sort of the build. The AYANEO KUN is a pretty weighty, pretty hefty device. It's actually coming in around 950 grams. Pretty heavy, right? Pretty heavy device compared to the ROG Ally, which is coming around 608 grams, right? So you can actually feel the difference. This is a lot lighter, you know. At least this is, you know, obviously. So you're talking about 40% lighter, around, or 30 to 40% lighter on the ROG Ally. This is around 950 grams. So this is pretty bulky. You know, it does have weight to it. It does feel heavy, but the heavier it feels, the more premium it feels as well. So that's something that maybe some people will like. The fact that it feels heavier, it feels more premium, I guess. Obviously, you know, we got our controller layout, pretty similar stuff going on here. We do got our 2 analog sticks, but the difference between the KUN compared to the ROG Ally, we're talking about Hall effects joysticks, right? So these are Hall effects joysticks and also Hall effects triggers. And you can actually feel the difference. You can actually feel the difference with the Hall effects triggers when compared to normal triggers. Like you can clearly feel the difference. Now, I think the ROG Ally, if I'm not mistaken though, they do have Hall effects triggers actually. So they don't have Hall effects joysticks. They don't have Hall effects joysticks, but they do have Hall effects triggers. So these are Hall effects triggers. So you can actually, you know, when comparing them, I mean, they both feel great. You know, both of these triggers feel pretty epic. But yeah, I mean, no Hall effects joysticks for the ROG Ally. Hall effects joysticks and triggers for the AYANEO KUN. So that's, you know, that's kind of a plus with AYANEO KUN right there. I do like the Hall effects joysticks, the way they feel, and they're more durable, longer lasting, things of that nature. Now for the buttons, obviously we got our ABXY, similar location for both these devices, um, and actually similar layout in terms of where the joysticks are located, and the D-pad is very similar in terms of the layout. Obviously, the ROG Ally does not have the two touchpads, on the right and left side of the screen. So this is maybe a plus for the AYANEO KUN, especially if you want to play certain games that require a mouse. I know that it's better to play Baldur's Gate with a mouse than with a controller. I do know that there's certain advantages that you get when you play with a mouse and keyboard as opposed to a controller. So you kind of have a little bit of that going on here. The fact that you have a mouse, or if you're playing like a strategy game like Age of Empires, or whatever, Civilization, games like that, like having the mouse, I think having this trackpad right here, it does help a little bit, that mouse control, and obviously you start this. So this is a thing I don't like about the AYANEO KUN, and I did touch on this in my review of the AYANEO KUN. I don't like where the back button and the start button are located. Now here, the back button is located in a very conventional spot that we're used to. It's very intuitive. You have your back button here and your start button here. Now we have our start button here and our back button here. Now you may think that this would be the start and this would be the back button. That's the intuitive thing, but these are actually functional buttons, and that's used to open up Steam. I also have it set to open up my Play Night, so you can customize it however you want, using different software and stuff like that. But essentially, this button is not by default mapped to your back and starting. Now there's a way to do it, and I will do it, but I initially was experimenting with it, trying out something else, so I will be remapping those. But essentially, these are mapped differently. So that's a negative, I think, for the AYANEO KUN. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much that. I mean, everything else, obviously, you got your IA space button. You got this. You got an actual button for the window key. And then another thing, is pretty minor, but we do have 2 back buttons here compared to 4 back buttons for the AYANEO KUN. So that's pretty minor, but obviously you have more customizations there. So yeah, I mean, that's that. Now looking at both screens, just looking at the screens themselves, I would say both have pretty eye-popping screens, and it's very vivid. But for some reason, I just think that the ROG Ally has a better screen. Now the AYANEO KUN is coming at a higher resolution of 2560 by 1600. So that's a 1600p screen, while this is a typical 1920 by 1080p screen. But the colors do pop more, I think, in my opinion, on the ROG Ally as opposed to the AYANEO KUN. That's just, let me just turn that off. That's just my opinion, what I see. But I mean, they both have pretty good screens. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about their specs. Now, the AYANEO KUN, right? The AYANEO KUN is coming in for the CPU. It has a 7840U Ryzen CPU, while for the ROG Ally, we're coming in with a AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme. Now this is, as I said, this is a 700 model. The 399 model, I think, just comes with a or the 599 model, actually, sorry, just comes with AMD Ryzen Z1. So that is, not as powerful as this, but it's a custom CPU only available for the ROG Ally. And obviously we got 8 cores for the AYANEO KUN, 16 threads running at around 3.3 to 5.1 gigahertz. And then for the AYANEO KUN, we got 6 cores with 12 threads, 3.3 to 5.1 gigahertz. So very similar processors, just more cores for the AYANEO KUN. And we also obviously have more RAM over here. Now the AYANEO KUN does have a 16 GB model, but this one in particular is the 32 GB model. So we have 32 GB over here. The highest RAM that you can get for the ROG Ally is 16 GB. So AYANEO has, more options where it comes on to RAM, but in particular this has more RAM. They both got PCIe 4 NVMe SSDs. However, this one is rocking a M.2 2280 SSD, while this one is rocking a M.2 2230. Now, the difference is that the 2280s do come in 4 TB models, while the highest for the 2230 is 2 TB. So obviously that's a pretty noticeable difference. You're obviously gonna be able to get more storage from your AYANEO KUN. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Both devices are expandable by micro SSD, so you can add a 1 TB, an additional 1 TB of storage to both devices. So this could potentially be 3 TB of storage, or this could potentially be 5 TB of storage with a micro SSD expansion. Now for the ROG Ally, the micro SSD expansion is right here, right? And then for the AYANEO KUN, you have to look beneath right here, and then you have your expansion right there. So that is that. Now the material, the build quality for both are plastic, but I do feel like the AYANEO KUN has more premium feeling plastic. It just has a more premium feel, in my opinion, compared to ROG Ally. Not to say that ROG Ally is cheap either. It actually has a good feel to it, but it's less premium. I just don't get that same premium build quality as I get from this. I just feel like this is just more solid, a more solid build quality. I want to compare the speakers. So first I'm going to play the AYANEO KUN so you guys can hear. Now the speakers are not great for the AYANEO KUN, but I just wanted to play it. I'm going to see if I can turn it to max volume so you guys can hear it. And then I'll play the ROG Ally. Let me just skip. Don't want to play that for too long, but pretty much you get the idea. So let's go ahead and play it on the ROG Ally. Wait, hold on. So you can hear the difference between that and that. Right? And if you, it's not as loud, but in terms of the quality, it sounds a lot better. Just a lot better. So the ROG Ally definitely has better speakers, 100%, right? In terms of quality, it just sounds so much better on the ROG Ally. So if you want to play music, right, you know what I'm saying, or if you just want better sound quality while you're playing games, ROG Ally is definitely the way to go. I think it's the best sound quality in all the handhelds that I've tried, and that's compared to the Steam Deck, that's compared to the GPD Win 4, all the other handhelds. I think ROG Ally has the best sound quality. Obviously, when you're comparing these two devices, battery life is definitely something you got to take into account. So the ROG Ally actually has a 40 watt-hour battery, while the AYANEO KUN has a 75 watt-hour battery, almost twice as large a battery, and that's what also contributes to the weight. Obviously, the AYANEO KUN is a pretty weighty device, but it's really the battery that gives it so much weight, actually. So obviously it's a larger device too, but the battery, the battery that it is packing, I mean, 75 watt hours. That's almost twice the size of the battery in your ROG Ally. So you probably could get 50 to maybe 80% more battery life, in this device theoretically. Obviously, you got to manage your TDP and stuff like that, but theoretically, you probably could get about 50 to 80% more battery life from your AYANEO KUN. You could easily play a AAA game close to 2 hours, maybe an hour 45 minutes at 30 watt TDP. While you're probably barely getting an hour on this device. If you're going to be playing a AAA title at 30 watt TDP. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now this does have a higher max brightness, so we're getting 700 nits, and I can try to compare the brightness right now, but essentially this does have a higher max brightness. So if we put the brightness up there, and if we put the brightness up here, we're definitely seeing a clear difference between the two. This is definitely brighter. This screen is definitely brighter than this screen. We're only getting about 500 nits of brightness here. We're getting 700 nits of brightness. So that should be good enough to play outdoors. I mean, the way it looks, the way it's so bright right now, I could tell, like, even if the sun is shining really bright, I'll be able to see the screen. I'm not sure if I'll be able to see here. I mean, if you get a sun glare protector, or whatever they call that, then you probably be able to see your screen. But this, you should be able to see it regardless whether or not you get something like that. So that's pretty cool as well. I also didn't mention that the AYANEO KUN also has some buttons here as well, which are customizable too, and you can actually use it to pull up your keyboard, start up your task manager, stuff like that by holding. So there's some extra function buttons right here at the top. Obviously, the AYANEO KUN actually has two, a USB-C at the top, a USB 4 at the top and at the bottom. The ROG Ally only has one USB 4 connection at the top right here, but it does also have eGPU compatibility, so you can hook this up to an eGPU station, and it will be able to basically run any GPU. So you should be able to do that with the AYANEO KUN as well, since this is USB 4. But there's a special proprietary eGPU device that you need for the ROG Ally, so that's the only thing. But they can both run eGPUs for sure, and as I've said, in my review of the AYANEO KUN, all these devices can be used as desktop computers, right? You can literally just have a whole PC setup with just surrounded by these devices. You can literally replace your desktop PC with any one of these devices. Hook up a monitor to it, and this could be your rig. These could be your rig, and it would take up a lot less space, in your house and things like that. So, and it's something that I've seen people been doing, like docking these, putting these devices in the dock, right, and then having it run a monitor, a keyboard, all that, and just having a whole desktop PC setup with just these devices. And on top of that, you can also use it as a handheld. So, I just wanted to segue and say that both these devices have great functionality where it comes on to being a standalone desktop, because they are PCs. Both devices are great, fantastic devices. I have no complaints about these devices at all. I mean, they work really well. Great quality, great feel. I do think the AYANEO KUN has more features, but I mean, considering the price, you're paying about $500 more for AYANEO KUN, right? Are the extra quirks and all the extra stuff are they worth the extra $500? You know, I'm going to play some games with both of these devices. Alright, so as you can see, both are in medium settings, right? Both are in medium settings. The only difference is that the resolutions are slightly different here, but it's just to fit the screen. So we have 1920 by 1080 right here, while with the ROG Ally we have 1920 by 1200. So, but it shouldn't make much of a difference in terms of the performance. So let's just go ahead and run the benchmarks. So let's go ahead and do that. So as y'all can see, so we're at 120 frames per second with okay, so this started up quicker. That's a little thing to notice. So we're at about 38-40 frames per second. Right here we're also at 41, so we're hovering around 40 frames for both devices. So actually, yeah, so ROG Ally, so they're both around the same 40 to 45 frames, so they both perform the same, really. I'm actually surprised by the performance of the Asus right here. You know, it's really keeping up well with the and it even went to 50 frames, which I haven't seen AYANEO done up to this point. Like, I'm seeing like 50 frames on here actually. So, you know, obviously, you know, the TDP, you know, will make a difference. So I think I have this on turbo TDP. I'm not sure what TDP that I have this on, but I'm getting an average FPS of 40 frames right here, right? And I'm getting an average FPS of 43 frames right here. Okay, so we have Spider-Man Miles Morales running on both these devices. As you can see, we're running around the same frame rate, around 35 to 37 frames per second on both devices. You see I have to be playing both of them, but pretty much, you know, this is on high settings. Now let me kind of switch the settings over. So if we go over to display and graphics, let's go to, let's put this over to, so this is on high settings, so let's put this to medium settings. Put it to medium settings right here. Medium settings. So on medium settings, the frame rate goes up a little bit. We're hovering around 37 to 38 frames a second, so it goes up a little bit, but it's still pretty choppy. The graphics is still pretty choppy. Not very smooth at all. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, so obviously not very smooth, but you know, that's pretty much that. So let me know what you guys think about this comparison. I think I did my best to try to compare both of them. Let me know what you guys think, and have a great day. Which one would you get? Like, which one of these would you get? Would you get the AYANEO KUN, pay an extra $500 for all the extra perks and everything? Obviously, as you can see, the performance is pretty similar between both devices, so it's not, you're not really getting anything major in terms of performance improvements. You are getting a bigger battery, however, and you're getting you know, just more features. You know, obviously HoloFlex joysticks, higher screen resolution, just a whole bunch of other things. You know, obviously the two touchpads right here, you know, which you can also use to control your game. So just tons of other little perks as well. You know, with a very similar performance. So let me know what you guys think. But anyways, have a great day. Pace Crypto sign out. Remember to subscribe to my channel. Have a great day. Peace.